You have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
Family, I know there was several cars that frequented there, that lived there. I'm under the impression maybe there's a couple younger children. He may have a couple younger brothers that live there, that his parents were active in the LDS community. I am very much in shock that this was so close to home. I would think that his family would be very hurt. I have a lot of sympathy for his family.
America is stunned by the assassination of Charlie Kirk, one of the most prominent conservative voices of his generation. The most shocking twist was that the alleged shooter, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, had been secretly recorded admitting to the crime. While the nation demanded answers and federal agents hunted a suspect, Robinson, unaware of the recording, handed investigators the most damning evidence. His own words, "What started as a campus event became a national crisis." Charlie Kirk, 31, the conservative firebrand who built Turning Point USA, was speaking at Utah Valley University during his Prove Me Wrong session. Students filled the venue, cameras rolled, and the air was tense. In less than 3 seconds, a single shot shattered the room. A bullet traveled roughly 200 yards and struck Kirk in the throat. He collapsed instantly. Within 33 hours, the FBI had received more than 11,000 tips. When authorities released a blurry surveillance photo, one Utah father recognized the face, his son, Tyler Robinson. The family had always called him the Golden Boy, a student with a perfect GPA, a 34 ACT score, and a full scholarship to Utah State. In a moment, a family's pride crumbled. Confronted by his father, Tyler allegedly confessed, saying, "I killed Charlie Kirk." The Robinsons did not hide him. They contacted their youth pastor, who called the U.S. Marshals, a SWAT team, arrived at the suburban home and arrested Tyler. Agents searching the house found a rifle wrapped in a towel, bullet casings with etched messages, and digital evidence including messages and images that suggested planning. In official settings, Tyler mostly remained silent. In interrogation rooms, he offered no apology, no explanation. Neighbors and classmates described a polite, intelligent young man, while family accounts revealed a darker private side, conversations filled with hatred for Kirk and boasts about removing him. Criminologists described a pattern of radicalization driven by isolation and online echo chambers. Prosecutors moved quickly, with state and federal charges and the death penalty under consideration. The trial became a national spectacle, with cable networks dissecting footage and conservative leaders calling the shooting an act of political terror. Charlie's widow, Erica, spoke publicly, vowing that her husband's mission would not die. Vigils and candlelight gatherings spread across campuses and towns. In court, prosecutors presented thousands of pages of evidence, photographs, messages, shell casings, and the rifle sealed in plastic. They displayed casings scratched with taunts and slurs, and produced screenshots of private chats showing Tyler discussing weapons and ammunition. The gallery reacted with gasps. Some in the courtroom cried. The emotional turning point came when Tyler's father testified, recounting the night he confronted his son and how Tyler confessed, "I killed Charlie Kirk." The FBI added forensic proof, DNA, and traces linking Tyler to the sniper position. Prosecutors said science confirmed what the other evidence suggested. Tyler remained largely mute despite his lawyer's urgings. Outside the courthouse, thousands gathered, some to mourn, others to demand the death penalty. Erica's words that her husband's mission would grow stronger in death galvanized supporters and amplified calls for justice. The case forced the nation to confront questions about radicalization and how a talented young person could commit a political murder. This is the story of two ruined lives, a public figure cut down and a promising young man whose choices ended in violence. The recorded confession, the family testimony, and the forensic trail formed a chain prosecutors argued could not be broken. As the trial neared sentencing, America wrestled with grief, anger, and the urgent need to understand how a life of opportunity became a path to murder. Cable networks replayed footage and commentators dissected every frame, while social media erupted with outrage. Hashtags such as #JusticeForCharlie and #PoliticalTerror trended as activists and pundits debated motive and responsibility. Conservative leaders called the shooting an intentional act designed to terrorize, and public rallies spread across the country. Even overseas, solidarity protests and vigils appeared as the story traveled beyond American borders. In court, prosecutors stressed that the killing was planned. They showed shell casings with words scratched into the brass, evidence meant to prove contempt and intent. Digital logs from private chats and Discord servers were presented, displaying messages about weapons, ammunition purchases, and long-range shooting practice. Experts explained how isolation and online radicalization can erode judgment and turn anger into action. Erica Kirk became the public face of the grieving family, speaking with grief and determination on camera. Her promise that her husband's mission would continue rallied supporters and sparked candlelight vigils on campuses and town squares. Outside the courthouse, crowds chanted for justice, and some demanded the harshest penalty. As prosecutors prepared for sentencing, the nation watched, debating how to prevent such tragedies and what justice should mean. The courtroom atmosphere was tense, almost suffocating. Every seat was filled, cameras flashed endlessly, and reporters crowded shoulder to shoulder, their pens and microphones ready to capture history in the making. At the center of it all sat Tyler Robinson, shackled, pale, and silent. His expression betrayed nothing. No remorse, no fear, only an empty stare that unsettled even seasoned observers. Some whispered that he seemed untouchable, as though he believed silence could shield him. But when prosecutors began laying out their evidence, that illusion crumbled. The FBI presented its case piece by piece, each element stacking higher until it became undeniable. They revealed the rifle, sealed in plastic, its surfaces stained with Tyler's fingerprints. Alongside it lay the towel he had tried to wrap it in, marked with traces that tied directly back to him. The weapon that ended Charlie Kirk's life was now displayed under bright courtroom lights, impossible to ignore. More shocking still were the bullet casings, dozens of them, each etched with crude slogans and chilling phrases. Some were politically charged, others mocking and juvenile, but all painted a picture of premeditation. One casing read, "Smile for the cameras." The words struck the gallery like a physical blow. Gasps filled the air. Some spectators cried openly. Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, clutched her chest, devastated by the casual cruelty behind her husband's death. The prosecutors then turned to Tyler's digital footprint, an archive of his thoughts and plans preserved in group chats and private messages. They showed Discord logs where Tyler bragged about his weapon, joked about long-range practice, and shared photos of ammunition. Text threads revealed discussions about buying more rounds and his excitement for trying them out. It was not a random act, prosecutors declared. It was carefully rehearsed. Every detail had been planned. The voice of the prosecutor thundered across the courtroom as he described the murder not as a spontaneous shooting, but as a calculated execution, an act of political terror carried out by a young man seeking notoriety. Through it all, Tyler remained motionless. His lawyers urged him to respond, to show some emotion, perhaps even remorse, but he remained silent, staring at the table in front of him. The absence of reaction only deepened public outrage. Silence, instead of appearing strong, now seemed arrogant. It suggested he believed himself above accountability, beyond the reach of justice. Outside the courthouse, the anger grew. Thousands gathered in protest and remembrance. Some held candles in honor of Charlie Kirk, others demanded retribution. Placards and chants filled the air, justice for Charlie and death penalty now. It wasn't only a trial anymore, it had become a national reckoning. Erica Kirk stood in the courtroom, her grief transformed into determination. Her testimony cut through the silence like fire. She spoke of her husband not just as a man, but as a mission of hope for young people. "This coward stole him from us," she declared, her voice cracking. "But if you think this will silence us, you are dead wrong. His mission will not die. It will grow stronger." The gallery erupted in applause, an unusual moment in court, but even the judge allowed it. Everyone knew this trial was bigger than one man's crime. It was a piece of history unfolding. The defense tried to resist, but the case only grew stronger. Tyler's father took the stand next. His testimony was heartbreaking. He described confronting his son, begging him to deny the allegations. Instead, Tyler had looked him in the eye and confessed, "I killed Charlie Kirk." The words shattered the courtroom. A father who had raised a promising, gifted boy now admitted that his son was an assassin. With tears streaming down his face, he told the jury, "I lost my son the moment he pulled that trigger, and America lost a leader. I will carry the shame until I die." His voice shook with grief, and even members of the jury seemed shaken by the raw pain of a man forced to testify against his own child. Then came the final blow. The FBI presented forensic evidence DNA, traces of sweat and blood found at the sniper spot. Science itself tied Tyler to the crime scene, erasing any possibility of doubt. The evidence was comprehensive and relentless, a web of proof that could not be unraveled. Still, Tyler sat in silence, lips sealed, refusing to acknowledge what everyone else in the room now knew to be true. The case reached far beyond the courthouse walls. Across the nation, public figures weighed in. Former President Trump appeared on television, his voice fierce, declaring that America would not rest until Tyler faced the ultimate punishment. "This boy thought he could kill one of our great patriots and get away with it," he said, "but justice will be final, and justice will be death." At rallies, crowds roared in agreement. Supporters chanted for the death penalty, their voices echoing across stadiums and public squares. Conservative leaders vowed that Charlie's mission would live on. Candace Owens tweeted that his legacy had become eternal. Vigils were held in cities across the nation. In towns, parents brought their children, veterans carried flags, and pastors led prayers. But in other places, counter-protests erupted, mocking Charlie's death and clashing violently with mourners. Police in riot gear were forced into the streets. The nation was boiling. Inside his prison cell, Tyler remained unchanged. The once brilliant student, the golden boy with every opportunity, now sat alone, staring at the floor. He refused to repent, refused to explain, refused even to speak. Yet his silence was no protection. Each day, new headlines piled against him. Each tear shed by Erica, each candle lit in Charlie's honor, and each chant for justice carved his fate deeper in stone. Reporters dug into his past, interviewing neighbors, teachers, and classmates. Many described him as brilliant, respectful, and polite. Until something shifted. A high school friend recalled how Tyler had once been the smartest student in the room, but his obsession with politics grew darker, more extreme. Looking back, the friend said, "I never thought he'd actually pull the trigger, but now it all makes sense." The media replayed the clip for days, painting the portrait of a young man who had turned from promise to destruction. It was not the story of a monster born, but of a boy who chose darkness over light. The trial pressed forward, and Erica Kirk delivered another devastating testimony. Standing just feet away from her husband's killer, she held Charlie's wedding ring in her trembling hands. "This ring was supposed to last forever," she said. Her voice quivered, but her words were sharp. "You didn't just kill my husband. You destroyed our future. You stole a father from our children. You silenced a voice that gave millions hope. But hear me clearly. Your silence does not scare me. It condemns you, and one day soon you will answer for what you did." Her words reverberated through the courtroom. Even jurors wiped away tears. The image of a widow standing against the man who had stolen everything from her burned into America's collective memory. The prosecution's final weapon was the secret recording. The jury heard Tyler's own voice bragging in private to his father, "I did it. I shot him. Charlie Kirk is gone." The sound of those words chilled the courtroom. Erica covered her mouth in horror. Gasps filled the room as the reality sank in. Tyler had condemned himself with his own voice. No lawyer could twist it. No defense could erase it. It was the proof that sealed his fate. News of the recording spread instantly, igniting social media. Millions listened in shock. Hashtags demanding justice surged to the top again. For America, the confession was the final confirmation that Tyler Robinson, the golden boy turned assassin, would never escape accountability. His silence had been broken, not by him, but by the one moment he never realized would be exposed. The trial moved towards sentencing, and the nation braced itself for the outcome. As the trial entered its final phase, the weight of Tyler Robinson's choices pressed down harder than ever. The sentencing loomed, and the courtroom had become more than a place of justice. It was a stage where America's grief, rage, and demand for accountability converged. The gavel's echo signaled not just legal proceedings, but a nation's reckoning with what had happened that night at Utah Valley University. Tyler sat shackled, his head slightly bowed, but his face still void of remorse. The silence he carried from the start remained with him, as though he believed that by refusing to speak, he could somehow maintain control. Yet everyone in the room knew that control was gone. His fate was sealed not only by evidence, but by his own arrogance. The prosecution, emboldened by the mountain of proof, demanded the harshest penalty. They called it not only justice for Charlie Kirk, but a message to anyone who might think ideology could justify violence. Federal prosecutors announced that they would pursue the death penalty. "If you think you can assassinate an American leader and walk free, think again," one prosecutor declared. Their voices carried like thunder, firm and unyielding. This wasn't just about punishing one man. It was about showing that America would not bow to political terror. The gallery erupted in support, many openly weeping or applauding despite courtroom rules. Even the judge did not silence them, recognizing that this case had surpassed the boundaries of ordinary law. Outside, the world was in turmoil. Across cities from New York to Los Angeles, candlelight marches drew thousands. Students held posters with Charlie's face. Parents brought children to vigils, teaching them the importance of standing against hate. Veterans marched with flags, pastors led prayers, and conservatives from every corner of the country cried out for justice. Yet the unity was fragile. In Portland and other cities, counter-protesters mocked Kirk's death, sparking violent clashes. Videos flooded social media, fists thrown, glass shattered, police rushing in with riot gear. America wasn't just grieving anymore, it was boiling over, split between mourning and mockery, between justice and chaos. At the center of it all stood Erica Kirk. Once a grieving widow, she had become the voice of an entire movement. Her interviews went viral, not only in the United States, but around the world. On Fox News, her tearful yet resolute words struck millions. "My husband's blood cries out for justice. He was murdered in cold blood, and I will not stop until every single person in this country knows his story." Hashtags surged again, #justice for Charlie, #CharlieLives, #ultimate punishment. Within hours, her words were shared by millions, fueling a collective rage and resolve. To many, Erica had become more than Charlie's widow. She was a symbol of strength, a beacon of resilience against violence. Inside the prison, Tyler's silence remained. His cell was cold, gray, and empty. The boy who had once lived in a six-bedroom home filled with trophies and hunting photos now had nothing but steel bars and chains. The transformation was stark, from family dinners and academic success to courtrooms and concrete walls. Reporters probed deeper into his past, uncovering testimony from neighbors, teachers, and former friends. They all painted a similar picture: a gifted young man who slowly slipped into isolation, who began to see politics as life or death, and who let obsession harden into hatred. A former classmate said in a televised interview, "He was the smartest kid I knew, but once he started talking about politics, it consumed him. Looking back, I should have seen it coming." That clip replayed across networks, each time reinforcing the tragedy not only of Kirk's murder, but of Tyler's downfall. Back in court, Erica Kirk gave one last testimony. Standing just feet from the man who had taken her husband's life, she held Charlie's wedding ring tightly in her hand. Her voice trembled, but her resolve was unshaken. "This ring was supposed to last forever," she said, her words slicing through the heavy air. "You didn't just kill my husband. You destroyed our future. You stole a father from our children. You silenced a voice that gave millions hope. But know this: your silence does not protect you. It condemns you. And one day soon, you will face the justice you deserve." Her words left the courtroom frozen. Even hardened jurors wiped tears from their eyes. The image of her standing strong became etched into America's memory, the widow refusing to be broken by the man who had tried to destroy her world. The breaking point of the trial came when prosecutors played the secret recording. Tyler's voice filled the courtroom. "I did it. I shot him. Charlie Kirk is gone." The effect was immediate and devastating. Gasps echoed, Erica covered her face, and the jury sat in stunned silence. This was the evidence no defense could spin. Tyler's own words, recorded unknowingly, revealed both pride and arrogance in what he had done. That recording spread across the nation within hours, played on every network, shared millions of times online. The confession that he never intended to be public became the final nail in his coffin. It wasn't just physical evidence anymore. It was his own voice betraying him. The trial neared its end. Prosecutors pressed for the death penalty, and the nation held its breath. Outside the courthouse, chants grew louder. "Justice for Charlie." Signs demanding execution waved in the air. Inside, Tyler remained hollow, staring at the floor, a ghost of the golden boy he once was. His silence no longer appeared as strength. It was weakness, arrogance stripped bare. He had thrown away everything: his intelligence, his future, his family's pride. Now all that remained was a date with justice. Beyond the legal battle, something larger had taken root. Charlie's death, instead of silencing a movement, had supercharged it. Vigils grew, protests expanded, speeches ignited. Conservative voices from Ben Shapiro to Candace Owens vowed to continue Charlie's work. Even in Europe, his name was chanted at rallies. Charlie's mission had outlived him, and his widow had become the embodiment of resilience. Meanwhile, Tyler Robinson became a cautionary tale. A boy who had everything and threw it away, consumed by hate. The tragic irony was undeniable. Tyler had believed that by pulling a trigger, he could end an idea. Instead, he had created a legacy. Charlie's name was now immortalized in prayers, marches, and protests, while Tyler's became synonymous with wasted potential and destruction. In the end, America came to a painful truth. Heroes live forever, but killers die twice, once in shame and once by justice. And for Tyler Robinson, justice was no longer a question. It was inevitable, written in his own words. his own silence, and the shattered lives he left behind.